Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. And we're getting back into the swing of things here at Apologia Center. I feel like we've had a couple of weeks that's background noise. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. Yeah, we're taking a couple of weeks, essentially. It's just slowing it down. And then going to get back into the swing of things. So I hope you guys are doing well. Drop a comment, say hello, hit the like button, share the stream out. You got questions? We got answers, mostly. Sometimes we don't, but we try. Hey, man, how you doing, Dan? I hope everything is well with you. We have tinkered with our audio a little bit, trying to adjust it and make it the best possible audio we can have it. So, Trump just made peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Yeah, I was watching. Well, it's not. People need to understand how these things work. It's not a peace agreement. There is no peace agreement. This specifically is a trade deal. It has to do with building a road through Armenia. It's not a peace deal. The peace deal between Armenia and Azerbaijan is not signed, but they're promising it will be. So the U.S. is functioning as a guarantor to a peace deal that's going to be signed, essentially, by building this road and then manning it and leasing it from Armenia. Essentially, it becomes U.S. property in Armenia, and so keeps it from essentially the Azeris attacking it. That's sort of the idea behind this, is the U.S. is giving some kind of a guarantee. It's interesting. I mean, it's still big stuff. I mean, they're naming it after him. The acronym is going to be TRIP, Trump Road to International something. It could bring a lot of money into Armenia because it connects the world. It connects Asia with Europe. In many ways, it shortens, from my understanding and the research I've done, it shortens some trade routes that are going in from India and going in from China to that part of the world. So we'll see what ends up happening. But it's interesting times we live in. So Pashinyan needs to learn to speak better English. I don't disagree with you. I think everyone in global politics needs to learn English. Well, he's improved from when he started. Like, his English was really poor. Now it's a lot better. But yeah, he's probably taking classes. Hello, Grafted Apologetics. Jerome, how you doing, brother? Hope all is well with you. Let's pull this up. We got 11 questions there. Liverpool kit, where you play next week? We played this Sunday, actually. So here's what I've discovered. I'm kind of waiting to see people in the kit until I buy it, because the Nike kits tend to run smaller for American sizes. So if you're like, hey, I want a medium, and then you buy a medium, the Nike kits are usually small on you, so you got to buy a large. In a Liverpool chat, Liverpool Facebook group with a bunch of people, and some of them had ordered a kit, and they had ordered it the size that they were ordering the Nike kits at, and it's too big on them. So I kind of want to see the kit on someone before I buy it and see what size I need to buy. And I'm going to buy a number of them, so got to make sure. So yeah. Hold on. How did you become a Liverpool fan? How have I never asked this? That's a good question. I became a Liverpool fan so this is post 2005 Champions League final. I had decided I was a Juventus fan predominantly. Well, I mean, come on. Alessandro Del Piero, Pavel Nedved, David Trezeguet. I mean, what a team. But Juan Luigi Buffon. But what ended up happening was I was having a hard time keeping up with Italian football, language predominantly. And Juventus had gotten relegated to... My final season supporting Juventus was when they were relegated to Serie B. I stuck as a fan. Like, that was my transition year, essentially. Stuck as a fan during that season. So people don't say, yo, you jumpo, they got relegated. I stuck as a fan. And in that time, I was kind of looking around to see what kind of a team I would pick. And what ended up happening is I saw highlights of the Champions League final from 2005. And I saw the way Liverpool fans acted, their singing and passion. And I said, that's the fan base. That's the sort of fan base I want to be a part of. So it, in a very interesting way, it had nothing to do with the team. Playing wise, it had everything to do, or players on the team, and it had everything to do with the fans. So I still think Liverpool fans are the best fans on the planet. No question about it. So that's how I became a Liverpool fan. Started supporting them that year, and the rest is history. I stand by that. Yeah, hey, Narek, have you bought the new kits? How does this work? You just answer 11 questions for the stream? Yeah, so people ask questions, and then I go, question number 1, and that one pops up, and I answer one, and then we move on. And we have, conversations about other subjects as well. That's how it works. He said that might as well be a conversion story at this point. Yeah, it sort of is. So, okay, so when I see this guy's kit, then I will buy my own. I just want to make sure I buy the right size. I'm also going to buy them for my kids, so it's... Okay, let's go with this one. I like this, Jay Rich. In your experience, do you think it's just religions that so many people try to redefine words, or is it just a world point of view redefining everything to fit your point of view? I think I understand what you're trying to say. Wonder if there's a better way or a different way you can say this. Do you think it's just religions that so many people try to redefine words? Like, how are people redefining words in religion? I want to answer this question because I think you're onto something, but try to word it better. Tell me what you're actually saying, okay? Got the long sleeve and short sleeve, but there is a delay in the one shipping from the UK. Loving the new kit and the design much better. Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. It's the most successful kit launch ever. Liverpool have sold more jerseys in the last week than they have ever, I think. Something like that. Some weird, nutty data point. So insane. So I'm going to wait for Jay Rich to ask his question in a better way. Play Crystal Palace on Sunday, you guys. Your example is Islam redefines everything in the apologetics world? What? Okay, man, I don't know. Now you're really confusing me. Like, what do you mean Islam redefines everything in the apologetics world? How do they redefine everything? That seems way too generalized to be true. Number one, it sounds like you're just stating a YouTube thumbnail or YouTube title or something like that that's going to get views. Like, that's just not true. What do you mean Islam redefines everything? I mean, there's a big difference between Islam redefining things and then Muslims redefining things. Like, again, part of this channel is helping you guys think properly. That's one of my goals. It's actually one of the things I've been thinking about in my time of like not streaming, is kind of like, what are we trying to do with this channel? And one of the things that I think I offer that other people don't, I can't say other Christian apologists, Christian, whatever, ministry channels on YouTube do what I try to do, which is try to help you guys think clearly about things and not get into the sensationalized sort of whatever's generalized statements about, they do this, they do that, like actually proper thinking. Maybe the Wise Disciple channel does this. I would say he tries to get at that. Now I really like his channel, by the way. He's a good friend. But I just don't see others doing it. So whenever like things like this are said, I'm just not going to assume it's true. Again, that just sounds false. Islam redefines everything. Sounds false. You're not sure how to ask it. Well, think about what you're trying to say, actually. Write it down and then read it and then write it down again in a different way. Yeah, I can't. I'm preaching in Fullerton on Sunday, so I won't be able to make it to watch the Community Shield with you guys. Sunday games like that, church wins over games. My man. What's up, my man? Hi. Okay, Kevin, I'll give you question one until Rich can get his stuff. What is your eschatological stance and why? Why? I'll answer the why first. The things that are stated in the Bible had to have made sense to the original audience reading the Bible. Even the symbolic stuff had to make sense to the original audience reading the Bible. So, when I read apocalyptic literature in the Bible, I'm assuming the original audience understood it for the most part. My stance tends to be a more, maybe you can say, preterist explanation, maybe symbolic to a certain extent. It is not premillennial. Pretty sure about that. Like, I'm still open. Still, I like talking to my friends who hold to those views on those things. Definitely not a historicist view. So for those that don't know, there's 4 views essentially out there. There's a historicist view, there's a symbolic view, there's a futurist view, which leads to premillennialism. So I don't hold to a future. And then there's a preterist view. And so I would say it's, it kind of wobbles back and forth between the preterist and the symbolic kind of view. And in regards to the millennium, I tend to wobble around between like all mill and post mill views. Can say I have a very strong stance on it. Christ is going to come back a second time for sure. No question about it. And the reason is because when I started studying the Bible, one of the questions we would ask of every text out there, every single text we looked at was, what did this mean to the original audience? And I grew up and, went to school in a futurist, premillennial kind of setting, sometimes dispensationalist. And then when we would get we would get to these sorts of conversations and we'd get to the book of Revelation, and then people would be like, oh, like it made no sense to the original audience, or it made very little sense to the original audience. And that was always suspect to me. And then when I started realizing, well, the Bible quite often defines the Bible, explains the Bible, interprets the Bible, I was like, wait here, there's a lot of this stuff that we're seeing in the New Testament, specifically in the book of Revelation, exists in the Old Testament. And so I was like, oh, that makes sense. And so therefore I kind of gave up those views. Partial preterist is a view too. No, yeah. So partial preterism, it says preterist. I'm not a full preterist. I wouldn't. Full preterism essentially saying Christ already came back in a fullness sense. But I would take like a partial preterist view if I were to pick it. But yeah, you're right, Ivan. And that's why. So I lean that way. We'll never forget talking to you once on a stream and having a conversation in which you informed me about what my own objections to the faith was by explaining stuff. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna take another shot at J. Rich's question. In my experience with apologetics, most on both sides don't get past definitions of words. So I was wondering if this was more in religions or this is everyday life around the world, definition of words. Yeah, I would say it's kind of like a human trait. People do this in politics and political disagreement and discussions. One of the things I would say is a lot of the conversations, and this includes me and the conversations I have with people who call in, not all the time, but a good amount of the time, they're very low-level conversations. They are not high-level academic conversations. People call in and say random stuff. I mean, if I wanted to, I could do what everybody else is doing, which is you stream, you get like your average Joe who calls in, and then you show how they're stupid and they don't understand what they're talking about. They don't even understand their own worldview, whether they're atheists or whether they're Muslims or whatever like that. And then you clip it and you put it out there, and then you get followers. A lot of people do that. I don't do that. I will only clip out a video of a conversation if I think there's value in that conversation going out, and I'm showing something in it. And it's also just not the way I disagree with people. I like having conversations. I ask a lot of questions. Some of this has to do with my personality. Some of this has to do with, it has to do with the way that I've been trained to think. It has to do with the way I honor Jesus in my life. There are ways in which I will never allow myself to treat other people, because it's about it's about my worship of God, and I won't treat people that way. Yeah, Arthur is explaining farming. Yeah, I am. But, and again, maybe some people don't have those personality types, which is fine. Some people don't have those same sentiments that I do in regards to worshiping Jesus and what that looks like in conversation with other people. But I've been doing this long enough to know that you can get very callous towards people who disagree with you and treat them in really bad ways, and then justify why you're treating them in those ways. Not really interested in doing that. And so again, maybe the issue is, Jay Rich here, is that you're watching very low level conversations And again, that's not necessarily the people that are calling in or whatever like that. Or sorry, it's not the people taking in the calls. It might be the people calling in who don't know what they're talking about quite often. And then so it becomes a bit difficult interacting with people where you're saying something that's like commonly accepted, right? Like if somebody calls in, let's say an atheist calls in, and I tell the atheist, God is X, Y, and Z. And says, well, no, I don't think God is all powerful. And at that point, you kind of go, okay, man, like, where's this conversation going? Like, there are accepted rules and definitions already generally out there as to what we mean when we say God. In our society, given the current climate, given religious history, given Western society's history and all that, when you say God, you mean most likely you're talking about a monotheistic God. You're talking about a God that is all powerful, all knowing, like all the omni attributes. Like there's certain things that are given. If we actually want to have a conversation where we understand one another rather than trying to like up one another. And I think partly my frustration and issue is that people are just trying to up one each other. And I don't think that's helpful, predominantly because I do apologetics for two reasons. One, it is to respond to people who have objections to Christianity. And respond in this way. I want to remove obstacles for them to come to know Jesus. So it's evangelistic in nature, the way I do apologetics. And number two, it is for Christians to strengthen their own faith. So for them to know what they believe and why they believe it. So it's an educational, it's not entertainment. Some people run their channels on YouTube as an entertainment platform. They're doing apologetics. No question about that. They are doing apologetics. But there's this aspect of entertainment with them because of, again, their personality, their giftedness, all of that. And I'm friends with a lot of these guys. When I, give and take and talk to them and hang out with them when times present themselves for us to hang out together. Like no issue there if they want to do it. Like they got entertaining personalities. They're fun to listen to sometimes. And I'm not as fun to listen to sometimes, even by myself. So, I just like when there's comments about like Muslims are doing this, or Islam does this, or atheists do this, or atheism does this. I hope you guys are getting the difference there. Then I want to be a bit careful to say, wait, is Islam teaching that? Does atheism teach that? Or is it any particular Muslim or any particular atheist who says, anything of that sort? So, you mentioned dispensationalism. Could you define it? Also, do you believe in it is biblical or not? And last, yes, Ivan, you're asking me 5 questions at once, man. And last, what would be the biblical view if you don't believe it is aligned biblically? Okay. I guess I'm going to count this as one question. There should be 3. Dispensationalism, commonly thought, and this I'm just coming up from the top of my head, so like a book definition of what dispensationalism is might be different. Dispensationalism is the idea that world history since creation has been separated into different dispensations, different time periods of certain kinds of activity that God is doing. Now that leads into the book of Revelation, and specifically really gung-ho dispensationalists will read the book of Revelation, and especially the first 3 chapters when it's written to all the churches. they will read those churches as time periods that are coming before, after the book is written, or during and after the book is written, and then before the coming of Christ, or before the rapture, let's put it that way, or before the coming of Christ, let's put it that way. And so they kind of assign time periods. So I'm just going to throw some stuff out there. Like, for example, the Church of Laodicea, the letter written to the Church of the Laodicea, when they read it and all the details in the Church of Laodicea, they might say, well, that is referring to the time period we're living in today, or it's in the future, or it was, we think that was between like 1300 and 1700 or something like that. So that's the way they break it down in regards to dispensationalism. Obviously, it's a lot more complicated than that, but I'm trying to keep it simple, and I don't know whether I could go any more complicated than that. As for a definition, also, do you believe it is biblical or no? I do not think it is biblical. I mean, if I thought it was biblical, I would believe it. Now, I do see why people would believe in it, because I didn't really believe in dispensationalism, but like I once believed things that I no longer believe. And I thought it was biblical, and I can see why people think it's biblical, and why they can find it in the Bible. So maybe I can say something like, it is a biblical view, something, if I want to be like super generous and gracious in my language. At last, what would be the biblical view if you don't believe it is aligned biblically? I think the biblical view most likely would be a view where the immediate fulfillments of the text that we have, unless otherwise stated, are happening to the original audience. Now, you got to consider genre, you got to consider a bunch of things that go into that conversation, Ivan. But is it a thing that's talking about future events entirely? Is that what's going on? Is it a thing where the original audience is saying, oh, yeah, like this is happening today? No, you could be, or it could be both sometimes. That's a possibility. But I think that's what we're going to say, whether something is aligned biblically or not. What I do have a hard time with is reading text and immediately thinking it's talking about our time period or a future time period from us. And then the specific meanings we're giving to the text, the original audience wouldn't have even in any way considered or thought about. So the kind of silly one I always throw out there is something like, there's locusts that come out of this pit in the book of Revelation, and then saying, oh, those are like Apache helicopters and stuff. It's like, oh, wait, so this thing made no sense to anybody. Like, not even a immediate fulfillment. Sometimes you'll have like biblical prophecies that might have an immediate fulfillment, but a fuller fulfillment later. I'll give you an example of that. Where that's not even there. There is no like immediate fulfillment, where it's just like all like, it's like, okay, so everybody just missed it, and then we invent helicopters of a certain sort, and we're like, oh, that looks like locust. Or maybe one of the things we might want to do is go into the Old Testament and see what that kind of language means and the way it's used. And then go, oh, wow, there's a biblical explanation for this. This is, let's just say it's apocalyptic literature, and it means this. Or not, it's it's like overstimulated literal reading of text that shouldn't be read literally, but rather should be read literarily. I say that often. So an example of something that's like fulfilled, has an immediate fulfillment, but later a fuller fulfillment, is a very easy and good one, is God telling David that his son will sit on his throne. Well, Solomon does sit on his throne. But that also says that his son will sit on his throne forever. And son is synonymous at times with descendant in the Bible. And now that's a fuller fulfillment we see in Christ, where Christ sits on the throne of David forever. Well, why is it a fuller fulfillment in Christ? Because Solomon didn't have the ability to sit on his throne forever, but he did sit on his throne, and he was his son. So there's an immediate fulfillment, and the reader kind of goes, but there's more to it there. This word eternal is very interesting there. So we're looking for a future king. And this is the way people expected the Messiah to come. This is the son of David who's going to sit on his throne. This was all expected. So that's just an example of a immediate and later fuller fulfillment. We can see that stuff. And if somebody wants to argue for something like that, some people have proposed like historic premillennialism, and it's fine. Like I have friends who believe that stuff, and they bring it up, and I'm like, cool. At least you're trying to be true to the biblical text. Quite often, one of the things I've seen is individuals that just like ignore the biblical text to its original audience. And that's not the way we ought to read the Bible. Yeah. I probably left stuff out there as well, Ivan, so forgive me if I didn't mention every single thing. There was a question asked about Romans. Okay. I often see people using Romans 1 and 2 to argue that people will be judged according to what revelation has been given to them. I forget if you're one of these people, but are you aware of this? So I'm aware of it. I think that's a fine argument to make. The issue is that in Romans 1 and 2, when that conversation's happening, the gospel hasn't gone out to the world the way it has since that, since the first century. But if somebody's going to bring me a conversation like, oh, there potentially is an island where nobody's heard of Christianity or the gospel or something like that, then I would say, hey, we see an example of this where the biblical author here is arguing for a case for folks who've never heard the gospel and kind of what their situation and stance before God is. So I will use 1 and 2, Romans 1 and 2, to essentially establish that people who've never heard, who maybe in history had never heard in the past or whatever, and the way that God will judge them is according to the knowledge that they have, which is essentially general revelation. But I think part of the thing that happens is the individuals I'm having a conversation with don't fit that people group at all. They are all individuals, everyone I've had a conversation with. And I always try to turn it around there and say, well, you're not one of those people, are you? And you're not believing. And so you're not going to be one of those people who's been judged essentially according to general revelation. You're going to be one of those people who's going to be judged according to the specific special revelation or specific revelation that God has given us. And that's been revealed to you in Christ. And so that's essentially the way I try to go about that conversation. I try to understand other people's understandings and where they come from, but struggle with basic definitions to really get anywhere. But I don't get out much either to experience other points of views. Yeah, you might want to like go out and make some friends with people who don't share with your worldview. Most things we do in life is for entertainment. What a sad, sad reality to live in. If you live a life where most of the things that you're doing, most of the things, notice what you're saying, Sean, most of the things, if your life revolves around most things being done for entertainment, you live a very sad existence. Like seriously, that's not true of my life. I don't do most things for entertainment. Oh yeah, are you not entertained, I guess?
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
That's just to pick on the people who think they're going to come in here and I often see people using. Okay, you're just repeating his question. Thanks for helping, Dolphin. Yeah, one of the things I would say, guys, is write Q in there so we can recognize your questions. please. Ivan said that was a good answer. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, man. Thanks for the good question. Jesus said it was going to be more tolerable for Sodom and Gomorrah than for you. Well, who was he talking to? He's talking to his immediate audience. I have a buddy, okay, Christian apologetics. I have a buddy who thinks Jesus didn't die for our sins, but rather God sent Jesus to try and teach us to be like him. But we killed Jesus, and the only way to be saved is to be like Jesus. How would you respond? I have tried showing him Bible references, but he thinks the apostles realized that they killed the Son of God, and because of trying to save face, they wrote what they did. So, okay, it's like a pointless conversation with your friend. I'm sorry to say this, because he's clearly come up with a conspiracy to answer the questions, to answer his own question. It's a conspiracy. Like, his statement, okay, so I'll tell you how I would respond to him. Here's what I would say to your friend. Hey, that conclusion you've come to that the apostles realized they did this, you need to prove it. And use your theory that you've come out of thin air with isn't good enough. You need evidence for it. And all the evidence suggests otherwise. So when Jesus is speaking in the Gospels and he says things like, the Son of Man will be betrayed into the hands of sinful man, and be put to death, and he's very aware of this. And when Peter stops him, Jesus rejects it. Or when John the Baptist sees him and says, "Behold, the Lamb of God that will take away the sins of the world." When you get passages that are used, like Isaiah 53, in the New Testament, variations of it, you get so much language in the New Testament of these things. So for him to come up, say, I know what went on, and then comes up with this conspiracy to justify this idea. Here's the other thing I would ask your friend. Is he like Jesus? Does he actually live his life like Jesus? That's a very important question. If he really believes this. And what does it mean to be like Jesus? In his mind, it seems to me that your friend is coming up with his own religion. And it's conspiratorial. So you can't quote Bible passages at him. What you need to get him to realize is that he's come up with a conspiracy so that his ideas, his view, cannot be defeated. I've helped you guys think through this in the past when it comes to people who think like this, right? So it's called the pink elephant lobby kind of example, where it's if you agree with what they're saying, you're in agreement, so therefore you're wrong. If you disagree with what you're saying, then they have some kind of a conspiracy to show why what you're saying doesn't make any sense because of their conspiracy. So, for example, somebody believes in flat Earth, and you tell them, no, we have individuals that work on this stuff. They travel outside of space, X, Y, and Z, and they tell you, but what you don't know is NASA's in on this whole thing, and all those people are in on it, and it's a great conspiracy that the world powers have come together to do, and they're all duping us because, whatever, they work for Satan or something. And it's like, how are you going to defeat that? You can't. They've bought into this absolute horrendous lie. And it's a sad place to live in for people like that. I asked the same question, and I asked if that's the case, no one will be saved, and asked him to point to one person who fits that description, and he can't. Yeah, I mean, it's a dumb, like, he's just pulled it out of thin air. It's a very dumb idea. There's other problems with it. The idea that God sent Jesus to do that, and then Jesus just picked really crappy students. who just failed. Like if I were to go, and maybe he would concede this, if I were to go with his thinking is that God failed. God sent Jesus. And then you got questions about God's attributes that become problematic. Like, is God all-knowing? He sent Jesus and they just failed at their mission. Like, Jesus came and he was like, follow me. And his disciples, he didn't pick really good guys. And they ended up killing him. And then his disciples were like, oh, crap. We messed up big time here. Let's come up with a lie and trick the whole world into believing this lie. And then God's like sitting up there and he's like, wow, we really messed up here. These guys weren't that bright. And now we got this whole false religion called Christianity on our hands. Do you see where the problem lies in your friend's thinking? Like it's actually an offense to the character of God to say something like that. The whole mission of Jesus, which would mean Jesus failed. He came to teach us to be like him, but he failed at it. And then the idea that God sent him to do that is also a failure. And so God and Jesus failed at their mission by these human beings who decided they were going to lie and come up with this message that he died for our sins or something. It's hilarious. Your friend is not a very deep thinker, it seems to me, by the way. Okay. Also, do you think, okay, I'll answer this, but I won't count it as a question. Also, do you think that engaging in these sorts of talks purely for entertainment is bad? I feel like you'd say yes. But that's exactly the reason for my first few months around here. Sounds bad. Oh, so here's the thing. Okay, so I don't do it for entertainment, but you might be entertained by it. Does that make sense, Jerome? So if you showed up to be entertained by me, and for some reason I was entertaining, which is hilarious to me that you would think I'm entertaining, but whatever. To each his own, I guess. I would say my motivation is the one that would be questioned there. If I were to do it for purely entertainment, yes, I would think. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing something for pure entertainment, which is fine. But doing this for pure entertainment, I think that would be a problem. Yeah. So I'll say that. And then you asked another question about David Wood. Your goat Wood did a debate on Islam recently. Did you see it? I did see it. He did 2 debates, actually, not 1. He did 2 with the same guy. I probably watched like 90% of both. The Empire has popularized the argument that he used, it seems. It's a good argument. The Islamic dilemma is a very good argument. And this is not a secret. David Wood has openly said that he has a group of people who meet regularly together who are trying to make more videos about this. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about making videos around that subject as well. Not because David's prompted me to, but because I think there's some value in that. So we'll see how that comes around, if I do that or not. My next step, I was thinking, was to talk about hermeneutics and how he interprets the Bible. It seems he's applying his own ideas rather than the idea. Not seems, he is. He's very wrong about it. But again, he's bought into a conspiracy about the disciples. His problem's not the Bible. Like, he agrees the Bible says what it says. What he's saying is, he knows something that we don't. No one actually knows, that the disciples messed up and tried and decided to change the story around so that they would save face. That's the issue here. So like arguing about hermeneutics is not going to make any difference for him. He's going to say, yeah, like if we were to look at the Bible the way that it's written, I would come to the same conclusion that you do. But I think there's another underlying reason as to why the Bible's written like this. That's the conspiratorial stuff. I hope you're understanding what your friend is saying. He doesn't disagree with the text of the Bible. He just thinks he knows something we don't about why the text of the Bible is written the way it is. So listen to me and do what I told you. He is, by stating that God and Jesus absolutely failed in their mission. Jesus was really wrong about who he picked to follow him, because they messed everything up and are leading millions and millions and millions of people astray from what Jesus came to show us. And that's an absolute L for God if we were to take his thinking about it. I think Tom is more entertaining. Tom is more entertaining. There's no question about it. He's more entertaining than I am. But he's like the comic relief on the side. That's why we got Tom in here, because, we don't have him in here right now. It's sad. No Tom, look, like empty. Well, I thought that the idea of a reverse Pine Creek atheist experience was invisible anywhere. Did you mean impossible anywhere else? And then I found out that you were a Liverpool fan. In hindsight, I had abysmal intentions in watching. Glory to God, man. Seriously, glory to God. That's amazing. I think we're good, right? Like, we're good on questions. What are we on? Question 6. Next question. I answered a number of them I didn't count. So yeah, that debate actually, man, it got really bad, like with the audience at the end, and Daniel Hikakachu. I read something about Daniel that I was like, let me do some research on this guy, because he says he's Iranian, but his last name, that like Hikakachu is not an Iranian last name. And I looked into it. That's not his last name. He's Iranian. His middle name is Reza. And it's a combination of a part of his last name. But what ended up happening, I went in and I started reading some stuff. Man, I found out that the guy's sister, this is sad, you guys. His sister was like kidnapped or like ran away with some guy and then was killed and thrown into a lake somewhere. I think that's what it said. I'm pretty sure that's what it said. And I was so bummed out by it. I was really, really sad about it. It's like, wow, what a thing to go through. Like, as an older brother, as like for his parents, his entire family. Very sad. Very, very sad. It's on his Wikipedia, by the way. Here it says personal life. Look at this. It says his sister Donna, aged 19, went missing in California in 2007 during a party and disappeared with a convicted sex offender who told the police that he had given her drugs on which she overdosed and that he had discarded her body in the ocean, after which it was never found. That's sad. Excuse me. That was a man sneeze. Some of you guys don't sneeze like that. Wait, what? And his response is usually that the God you are describing is very convenient. That's a stupid response. Is God all powerful or is he not? I mean, before we describe anything, he needs to tell us, like he needs to tell you what he means by God and whether that fits the entire story. I had another question from above. If no one else has a question, can you write it down again? Scrolling and trying to find it is difficult. So again, either tag me, the best way you guys can do this is write at Apologia Center and then write your question, because that way it already highlights for me into a separate area and I can just pull them up instead of just writing your questions. So sometimes I'm looking at them and they look like just comments, and sometimes I get confused. You guys are talking to each other. So just if you have a question, at Apologia Center and write your question. I only mentioned the empire popularizing the dilemma because I feel like I don't understand it. I doubt myself because surely it can't be as easy as the arguments that have been presented. Hey, man, it is. So the dilemma is Muhammad gave the thumbs up to the Bible. If he gave the thumbs up to the Bible and the Bible is true, that means Islam is false. If he gave his thumbs up to the Bible and the Bible is false, that means Islam is false. Because predominantly, now this gets more complicated, and a lot of people don't realize why it gets more complicated, but the complication is this, that Muslims believe a specific thing about revelation. So they think that the Quran is dictated by God. That's their form of revelation. And if it's dictated by God, God's giving the thumbs up on something false, that means Islam is false, because how could God give the thumbs up on anything false? That's the dilemma. And it's a very, very good argument. The formal argument of it is, it may be simplistic or simple, but it's powerful, man. Really powerful. So I hope you understand it. It's not that complicated to understand. Yeah, go for it, Christian. Keep doing that. You meant invisible for Christians that call in Q&A streams. We ended up concluding that we're looking for a unicorn for a while. Ta-da! So I'm a unicorn is what you're trying to say, Jerome. I guess unicorns do exist. People always make fun of Daniel by connecting him to Pikachu. Oh, yeah. Because of his last name. And that makes me sad. Why? Because you like Pikachu a lot? Or you like Daniel a lot? That's not his last name. Daniel's last name is not Hikakachu. Okay? Daniel Reza. It's tough to say. That's the middle name. Reza, that's the Iranian name. Hakikat Jew. So he just like shortened it. As a matter of fact, in the articles here that are cited about his sister, I think, for example, it says the article is titled John Stevens, who admitted dumping Donna Jew in the ocean. Freed after 2 years in jail. That guy's been freed. Wow. ABC News. So, I don't know what this whole Harirat. Let me ask my wife what this means. Let's text the wife. Did I? Yeah, here we are. Let's see what the wife says. He sneezes in Armenian. That's good. I like it. You get it. You get credit for that one. Who is this guy? Byron. Relax a bit. And leave spaces in between your sentences. I'm going to fail you. Not going to put this up as a question, but if you met Jesus face to face, what question would you ask him, if any? I don't know. I've been asked that question before. I don't know if I have an answer for it. Byron says, Apologia Center, smart Christians, how can Jesus be translated into Yahweh, Yeshua, Jehovah, God, and Jesus Christos? What? Why are you tagging smart Christians in here? How can Yahweh be translated into that? The Yahweh is not translated into that. Hey, Byron, you don't even understand the conversation. You're asking a question. That shows me you don't understand the conversation. Look at that. Jerome's like, nobody's like Arthur. Arthur's a one of a kind, is what Jerome is saying. I appreciate it, Jerome. I also appreciate that you think I'm a part of the empire. Byron wants to know how Jesus can be translated into Yahweh, which it's not, or Yeshu, or Jehovah, which it's not, or God, and Jesus Christos. Does anybody want to tell him that he doesn't know? The Byron... Hey, Byron, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you don't even understand the conversation. Jesus claims to be all of these. Yeah, but that's not a translation thing. Jesus claims to be God. What do you mean, how is Jesus translated? You're talking about a linguistic thing versus Jesus claiming to be God. Byron is a Muslim. He let him be a Muslim. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't care what you are. You could be a Muslim. You could be a Hindu. You could be Druid or whatever like that. Like, I don't care. You don't know what you're talking about, my friend. Jesus is God. Jesus is Yahweh. But that doesn't mean the name Jesus is translated to Yahweh. Do you understand that? Hey, Byron, is English a second language for you? Where are you from, Byron? I mean, when I read Byron, I think about like a really pale white guy. So, where are you from? You're clearly not a pale white guy. I'm very, very interested to know where Byron's actually from and why pick the name Byron. Jesus means earth pig. You're on crack. This guy's something else. How did you find this channel? Oh my gosh. I'm not going to even entertain you, man. You're just saying dumb stuff. You're from Israel? And you're a Muslim. And your name is Byron? I'm assuming you're not Israeli. Unless he might be Israeli. And then now he's picking random stupid stuff from the Talmud or something like that and sharing it. I'm curious. But tell me what your religion is, Byron. And what your nationality is. What ethnicity are you? Very curious here. We're going to take Byron's question seriously. Jerome said, I'm so confused. You and me both, my friend. Okay. Tell me what nationality you are, Byron. That do matter. What? I don't want to block you, by the way. That don't matter. It does matter. It absolutely matters. So I'm going to correct you pretty confidently, Jay Rich. I don't think he's a Muslim. It matters, man. It matters. And I want to know how old you are as well. That matters on my channel. Because it will matter on how I interact with you. I'm not going to entertain any other questions other than the weird translation question you asked. That was like a dumbest question maybe on this channel. How is Jesus translated? Jesus in the English comes from the Greek Jesus, which is a translation of a name, Yeshua, which is the name Joshua as well, or Jesu. And we get it into multiple languages. In the English, the J is pronounced. In Armenian, the J is not pronounced. But that has nothing to do with Jesus claiming to be God, or the Bible claiming that Jesus is God. The Bible definitely claims that Jesus is God. For example, John chapter 1 verse 1 says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became flesh. And if you keep reading it, it's going to go on to tell us that this Word is Jesus, the incarnate Son of God, the Word of God. The Bible very clearly teaches us this. I have a feeling that you're not a Muslim and you're a Jew. If I go with what you're saying, that you're Israeli, you're writing in the Hebrew, it does matter, by the way. It matters absolutely. The fact that you said Jesus means earth pig is one of the stupidest things to ever come out of anyone's mouth. I would like a reference for that. I'm not going to entertain your other stuff. Tell me where you get this idea that Jesus means earth pig. Give me a reference. Give me a reference, or else I'm going to have to put you on timeout. About the dilemma. I've seen IP and others explain it in more detail, but it really does seem too free. To me, this would be like if I found Salah in FPL for 6.5. I doubt what's in front of me. Yeah, but it's not Latin. Dude, the name is not a Latin name, it's a Greek name. So like, what part of linguistic differences do you not understand here? Dude, my dude from Israel. Sus means pig in Latin. Who the hell cares? So since you're not giving me answers, I'm actually looking up where you get this nonsense from on ChatGPT. So let's look at it. Okay? Let's look at it so your stupidity can show to the rest of the world. Okay, I just asked who said Jesus means earth pig. He says, yes. Or says, you might have stumbled upon the quirky claim. ChatGPT is calling what you're saying quirky, by the way. The quirky claim on social media in fringe blogs that the name Jesus supposedly means earth pig. Here's where it comes from and why it's fantastical. Okay? Some Hebrew roots or sacred name groups and conspiracy-leaning sites have asserted that Latin J-E, means earth, and sus means pig, thus claiming Jesus is translated earth pig. Other platforms echo similar ideas, suggesting that Jesus phonetically merges these meanings. Here's what the experts say. This theory is linguistically baseless. There is no Latin word J-E, meaning earth. And Latin doesn't even have J in classical usage, J as a sound. Jesus comes from the Latin Jesus, itself from Greek Jesus. So it's Greek, not Latin. Sus does indeed mean pig in Latin, but that does not make Jesus or Jesus mean earth pig, simply because it ends with sus. The interpretations ignore how names evolve across languages, Greek, Latin, English, with roots tied to Hebrew meaning Yahweh saves, not any pig-related notion. Language doesn't work by stitching random parts together like this. Etymology depends on historical linguistic development, not surface resemblances. The earth pig claim appears to be from uninformed or deliberately provocative fringe sources, not serious linguistic or theological scholarship. Mainstream academic and religious consensus. Jesus originated from the Greek name Jesus, which in Armenian we still call him Jesus. Comes from that. Transliteration into Armenian from Greek. A transliteration of the Hebrew Yeshua or Yehoshua, meaning Yahweh saves, no pigs involved. I mean, this is ChatGPT. Let me know if you'd like to do a deeper dive into real etymology of the name, so on and so forth. ChatGPT just said you have stupid ideas. So stop spreading stupid ideas, man. Okay. Okay. I mean, the fact that you actually said this and wasted my time says enough. So we're going to put you on a 24-hour timeout. There you go. Congratulations. Goodbye. Don't waste my time, man. There have to be some Among Us jokes that are relevant, surely. It's like, learn a language. He's from Israel. Get a life. This seems to be like an evolved form of word study fallacy. It absolutely is. I mean, it's just stupidity. It's like, oh, I found a language where this word is similar to that word, so therefore the meaning of that word is this. It's like, okay, buddy. Congratulations. Question. What is your best description or resource I can use to describe the Trinity to someone? Basically explain in 5 the Trinity. 5 minutes, I guess. Well, it not everything could be explained in 5 minutes is what I would say, Christian. Like, okay, so the best description or the best explanation of the Trinity is the logical comparisons of the Trinity. Oh, he meant 5-year-old. Yeah, 5-year-olds are probably going to have a hard time understanding the Trinity. No. Like, I mean, let's just listen to your question, okay? Let's just take your question. If I came to someone and I said, hey, tell me the best way to explain like quantum computing to a 5-year-old, you would probably say it's pretty tough for a 5-year-old to understand that stuff. Or if I said, hey, help me explain physics to a 5-year-old. Like, you get the problem here. Like, why are we assuming there's all these things that are very difficult to explain to a 5-year-old, but we think we can explain the Trinity to a 5-year-old? The Trinity is a complex philosophical and theological doctrine. It is complex. 5-year-olds are probably not going to understand it. 5-year-olds don't understand a lot of things in life. It's very important. Right? So so just for someone who wants to understand the Trinity, the best way you can explain the Trinity to someone is by giving them, essentially showing them or drawing to them this image. This is the best way you can explain the Trinity. Okay? So, and there's this form of it. But this is a logical relationship that's going on. Am I like off center? What's going on? I think my camera shifted. And the idea here is that the Father is not the Son is not the Holy Spirit or the Father is not the Holy Spirit or the Son, but they are all God. And we're talking about persons versus nature, but those are all things you got to get down. You got to understand what the definition of a person is. You got to understand what the definition of nature is. In order to explain to people, you got to understand things about attributes, things like accidental attributes versus essential attributes. In short, you need to know your stuff before you can try to explain something to someone else. And all of those are going to come into, like, they're going to come together when you explain it to someone else who doesn't understand these things. And generally, I've had success in explaining it to people, but not 5-year-olds. I got little kids, man. I have a hard time with this stuff. What? I hope you know that your YouTube name is spelled incorrectly, sir. Not you, Arthur. This guy in the chat. Oh, this guy? Christian? Yeah. Christine. You should fix Christian there, Mr. Apologetics. What's up, brother? How you doing? We have 2nd century Greek manuscripts that calls him Jesus by name. Why is he talking about 1611 King James Version? Because if he doesn't go to the King James Version, then his whole conspiracy falls apart. That's why he's talking about that. Look, guys, all this gentleman had to do, like, seriously, all he had to do was go on ChatGPT. ChatGPT 5 has been released. This is a free version, but I might get the paid version. And write, look at this prompt. Who said Jesus means earth pig? And then he would have gotten this answer. And then he could have asked all sorts of follow-up questions to it that I didn't. And not buy into just absolute nonsense. But it doesn't seem like he's interested in that, huh? The Ethiopian brothers are here again, right? I really wish that I could read this Amharic name that's in the chat, but I can't. You can ask him and he'll tell you what it is. Jerome, you can talk to people in the chat, Jerome. It's okay. It's too late, is it? Jerome says, I thought the Trinity was borderline incoherent until I saw this video. What video is this? I love Jerome just finding these. I'll watch that later. Interesting. Yeah, my fault. You can create a new channel, I guess. Or a new name. So yeah, where are we at? Where are we at? Question number 6, even though we're like way past that. Maybe I should just add like, I'll make the next question 8. I'm going to check that out. Something is off about my centeredness here. Definitely shifted. Stuff moves around, you know. So sitting. I feel like I should be sitting here. Okay. Arthur, thoughts on Isak? Well, he's not a Liverpool player, and we don't speak about players that aren't our own players. He is a Newcastle player, and he had a really good season last year, and we'll keep it there. If you have further questions about players that actually are Liverpool players, I'd love to answer that, but we don't speak about other teams' players. What I thought was interesting was Manchester United signing Benjamin Sesko. I thought that's and United might sign a goalkeeper. There's some reports coming in, so it's going to make a strong United, I think, if they do sign that goalkeeper. By the way, that was in jest because they asked Slot about it during the press conference, and he goes, "We don't talk about other teams' players." So I just repeated what he said. I actually think there was someone I was watching. I forget who. Might have been a conversation over something like that. That Newcastle might hold off and then sell Isak to us after we play them, which is the third week. Darwin Núñez is going to make some big bucks in Saudi Arabia. I think his contract details are something like $400,000 a week. Oh, I like Darwin Núñez, man. I'm sad to see him go. I haven't seen much of Ekitike. I think it's going to take some time for him to get adjusted to Liverpool. So I'm not going to get frustrated if he doesn't do good in the early stages. But his style of play reminds me a little bit of Roberto Firmino, except he's like taller than Firmino. But he's got that link up kind of thing about him that I like. Oh, see, look at that. I didn't even read your full comment. For what I saw, he seems like Firmino, but actually rapid. Yeah. That's the exact same thought I had. A question for Apologia Center. Here we go, question 8. Are aliens real? If so, are they demon spawn or creatures that need to be converted? I've been on the stranger side of YouTube as of late. Wow. Are aliens real? I have no idea if aliens are real. I don't know. I know there's different ideas out there. I know there's people who are saying that they're demons, not demon spawns, but like they're demons essentially. I don't know. Hey, God bless you, Jade Rich. So, sorry, not really. There's much there. I just think everything else is going to be speculation. And, is it possible that God created other creatures in a distant planet or something like that? Yes. Why is that not a possibility? Considering that God's created all sorts of heavenly beings, it seems like even our understanding of like the category of angels seems to be incorrect. Like there are different kinds of angels, different kinds of what we would call heavenly beings that God's created. There's definitely different kinds of earth beings. I mean, there's humans, but look at the animal world. Look at the sea creatures. Look at mosquitoes and stuff. Like, could there be a planet where there's their version of an animal life? And would that not be considered aliens? Of course it would. I can see that happening. Why not? It's just speculation. The thing is that usually with people who come up with these theories, it just fits into a larger scheme. So, for example, the people who believe that aliens are demons and stuff like that believe that's the way the end of the world is going to come. And I kind of look at it and I go, well, like people probably didn't think that a number of years ago. And you guys believe that because we have concepts of aliens. And then like you brought it into this story that you're telling us about the end of the age and how aliens are going to come and they're actually demons and they're tricking people and they're going to lead them astray and all this stuff. It's like, okay, it's like quite a bit of theorizing. Sounds like a fun story, but that's about it. Your answer, I'm assuming, will be lack of time, but have you thought about doing a sports show or another channel where you talk about soccer? Maybe Jerome and I should start something. I have thought about it. And yeah, I mean, there is an aspect of time. Like that would lead to a lot of research and work and all that stuff. I mean, there's really, really cool channels out there where people do sports reviews. I got friends that are like, would do a really, really good job of doing some kind of a sports thing. And they're like really into soccer and select their own teams and all that. But, yeah, I just don't necessarily have the time for that. Oh, I also don't have I speak about it, but I don't mind speaking about it the way we are. But if you're going to do a show, you're going to need a lot more research, a lot more effort put into it. And I don't know whether I want to do that. Again, for me, that's entertainment, right? Like I watch soccer because it's entertaining and I like it. It's it's a pastime where you become all about it. It becomes, I think, yeah, you need a lot of energy and effort put in there. That would be so funny. Hey, Jerome just needs a really good camera and a really good mic, and then we can talk about how deluded Arsenal fans are. My friends sent me on Instagram. You guys gotta see. Jerome, you have to see this. Oh man, this is so good. How do I log in? Let me see if I can pull this up. Is that a text? That was a text. Absolutely hilarious, this one. Oh man, check this out.
How much is Arsenal worth right now?
About, I'd say 800 billion, something like that. That's maybe the mark.
800 billion?
800 billion.
No, you need to go and check
okay,
a few
so
websites.
You told me that. What is it say?
So Liverpool was valued at, recently Forbes, at 4 billion.
Okay.
And that is
Well, that's maybe the
that's very, very much significantly bigger than Arsenal's. You've won the FA Cup.
Most times.
You've reminded me in like 5 minutes.
times.
You've reminded me about more than how many times you've won the cup.
Yeah.
How many times you've reminded me you won the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Can you remind me how many times you've won the biggest club trophy there is?
Can you remind me how many Invincibles you have?
He said, "Can you remind me how many Invincibles you have?" Oh man, I thought that was so funny. He said Arsenal is worth $800 billion. Oh man, so it's not. I'm dead. 800 billion. Oh, Fabrizio Romano released a video. Isak says no. I don't know what he's saying no to, but okay. How long? Okay, we've been an hour and a half. I got a couple of things to do. We'll call it a day today. How about that? Good. Got my energy back. You're praying for me. Keep praying for me. I appreciate that. Lots of work coming up. Monday, we will be opening up the registration links for the upcoming Praise with Reason night that we're doing, which is a worship night / apologetics night. We got Ruslan and Dr. David Wood coming in to speak at that, and yours truly. Monday we'll launch that. We don't have an online option yet, but if we do end up getting an online option where we're streaming, which we might, depending on the demand. So if you're interested in watching it, you're going to purchase it and watch it, just shoot me an email at info@apologiacenter.com. Info@apologiacenter.com. Say I'm interested in the, what's the digital option or whatever. And if I get enough emails like that, then we'll set that all up. That'll be like $10. So let me know if you're interested in that. Seeing you have slimmed down and look healthy. Oh, healthier. I don't know if I look healthy. Seeing you have slimmed down and look healthy, what are some health benefits to fasting that you share and tips you offer to those who cannot resist tacos, tortas, and sugary drinks? So don't drink sugary drinks. So I try to drink like mineral water essentially, or sparkling water and stuff like that. Or just carry a bottle of water around. Try to do that. I'm probably not the best person to give you health tips. I am still overweight. I'm still, I've lost probably 10 to 12 pounds, but I need to drop another 15 to 20 pounds to be at where I think I should be. Fasting, look, I don't call dieting to lose weight, like what they call intermittent fasting. I don't call that fasting. Fasting for me has a very religious connotation. So when one fasts, one's mind, as always, but specifically when they're fasting, ought to be on the Lord and prayer. And you're not doing it forever. You're doing it for a limited of time, whatever that may be, a day, 2, 3, 5, whatever. And so are there health benefits? Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of health benefits to it, but you're not doing it for the health benefits. You're doing it so you can get closer to God. Now, yes, your body is important. And, when you fast, you probably go through some cleansing. You're drinking a lot of water. There's all sorts of stuff. Again, I'm not knowledgeable in all these things to give you all the details there, but there is a advantage there. But even if there was no health advantage, we should still fast, if that makes sense. Tips to offer for those of us who cannot resist tacos. Yeah, I happen to be one of those people. One of the ways you do is you just discipline yourself. Or if you know you're going to have tacos tonight, how about you don't have breakfast and lunch? Or if you know if you're going to have tacos for lunch, maybe you shouldn't eat dinner and breakfast. That'll be my advice. Just, you know your body best. Nobody else knows your body better than you. Manage yourself. Discipline yourself on what you're eating and what your intake is. That's what my advice would be. Still haven't lost all the weight that I wanted to lose, by the way. And the camera always makes you look better anyways. So I don't know if you'd say the same thing if you're next to me. But with all that said, God bless you guys. I will see you guys Monday. Monday, live, we will announce and open the registration page. Monday, live, registration opens for October the 10th. All that said, God bless you guys. Take care. See you later.